Hello and welcome to this video. Today you're going to learn airport vocabulary. You're going to learn all the English vocabulary that you need for travel. Of course, I'm Jennifer from JForrestEnglish.com, and this channel is dedicated to helping you feel confident speaking English in public so you can take your career and your life to the next level. Now, before we go any further, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. Now, let's dive in with this lesson. All right, let's talk about airport vocabulary so you can have all the English vocabulary for travel that you need to travel confidently, because one of the reasons why you're learning English is because you have an interest in the world and traveling the world and meeting new people, right? So let's make that easy for you today. Woohoo, you're going on vacation. You know exactly where you want to go. So let me give you the airport vocabulary that you need. The very first thing you should do is, of course, pick your airline. Your airline is the company that you're going to use to travel with. So the most popular airline in the world, as far as I know, is Qatar Airways. Delta is a really popular airline as well. British Airways is pretty common. And United is a very popular one as well. So the very first thing you do is you pick your airline, the company that you use to travel with. Now, airfare is just the cost of your ticket. So the word fare is generally used to talk about cost of travel and transportation. So here we're just adding the word air in front of it so you know it's for an airline, airfare. And when you're deciding on your airfare, you have to pay attention if it's a one-way or a round trip. Because let's say it tells you your airfare is $300, but that's just for a one-way ticket, which means it's only going to get you to your destination. It's not going to get you back again. So that's called a round trip. Round, like a circle, you go there and you come back. So you can have a one-way ticket or a one-way airfare or a round trip. And then once you book your airfare with your preferred airline, they're going to give you your ticket. So your ticket, most people just get an electronic ticket. That's also called your boarding pass. Your boarding pass. Remember the word boarding because I'm going to talk about it again later. So your boarding pass, that has all your flight information. It has your name, it has the name of the airline, it has the flight number, it has the time, the departure, and the arrival as well. It has all that information on your boarding pass. And most people just get electronic boarding passes now, your e-boarding pass. So you booked your one-way or your round trip, you have your ticket, your boarding pass, you get to the airport. Now the first thing you're going to do is check a bag. If you are checking a bag. So what does it mean to check a bag? When you check a bag, it's when you have a larger suitcase, a larger bag, and you put the bag under the plane. So you leave it at the conveyor belt and they take care of your bag. You just drop it off. But keep in mind that now a lot of airlines will limit how many bags you get. Some of them don't even allow you to bring any bags on the plane unless you pay extra for it. So you need to check with the airline or check your ticket because it will tell you how many checked bags you're allowed. So if you're checking a bag, that's the very first thing you would do at the airport. You would check your bag. Now, if you're not checking your bag, you have a carry-on. So that's the name of the suitcase, the bag, the backpack that you carry on to the plane. You bring that bag with you onto the plane. So you do not check that bag. If somebody sees you and they say, "Oh, would you like to check that bag?" You say, "No, this is a carry-on." You don't check it, okay? So that's really important. So you either check your bag or you have your carry-on bags, your carry-on suitcase, and then you go through security or you go through customs. Now, security is when you're going to put your carry-on, your purse, any of your belongings into the little bin, and it goes through the camera so they can see what's in your bag, and then they're going to check you as well to make sure you're not bringing anything prohibited onto the plane. So you go through security. Now, if you have a domestic flight means you're flying within your country. If you have a domestic flight, then you don't need to go through customs. However, if you have an international flight, which means you're flying to a different country, you also need to go through customs. When you go through customs, that is security to make sure that you are allowed to enter the country that you're traveling to. So they might check your visa. If you are required to have a visa to enter that country, you might have to fill out some additional forms as well. So after you go through security and you go through customs, if you need to go through customs, now you're officially in the airport, and this is where you're going to board your plane. So notice I said to board. Remember before I said you have a boarding pass? Well, that word boarding comes from the verb to board. The verb to board a plane, simply means you get on a plane. But that's the word we use, to board the plane. And your ticket is going to have your boarding time. The boarding time is the time you get on the plane, and then the departure time is the time the plane actually takes off. So when the plane takes off, it leaves the ground and it goes into the air. So of course you have to board the plane first because everybody needs to get settled into their seats. They need to get their bags put in the proper place. They have to do all the pre-flight security and all of that as well. So generally you board half an hour before departure, before takeoff, before you leave. And you're going to board your plane at a specific terminal and gate. So a terminal and a gate, that's just the names that they use to organize the airport, because airports can be really, really large. So they need to divide the airport into different sections, and those sections are called terminals. Generally, they're A, B, C, but it's possible they could be 1, 2, 3. Terminal A, Terminal B, Terminal C. And then within each terminal, there are different gates. The gate is specific to the flight that you are boarding. So if you're boarding flight 304, that's going to leave at Terminal A, gate 24. So first you get to Terminal A, then you'll see all the different gates, and you have to find the right gate, the right waiting room. You can think of the gate just as the office number, the waiting room to board the flight. And then you're just gonna sit at your gate and you're going to wait for the boarding call. The boarding call is when they're going to invite the passengers to board the plane. Now, the worst thing that can happen is that your flight is delayed. To be delayed. This is an expression you should absolutely add to your vocabulary because there's a 50% chance or higher that your flight is going to be delayed. And when your flight is delayed, it just means it's late. It's late. It's not leaving on time. So if your flight was supposed to leave at 3 o'clock and there's a half an hour delay, that means it's not leaving until 3:30. So you don't want that to happen, but most likely it will. Your flight will be delayed. Now, another possibility is that you have a layover or a stopover. They're the exact same thing. There are just two different words to describe them. Layover, stopover. This is when you're going from destination A to destination B. This is your final destination, but you need to go to somewhere else before you arrive at your final destination. It could be to pick up other passengers, to drop off other passengers, to refuel. There could be many different reasons why you need to go to another destination first. If you do that, it's called a layover or a stopover. If you don't do that, it's called a direct flight. When you go from point A to point B without stopping, it's called a direct flight. So your best scenario is that you have a direct flight without any delays. Wouldn't that just be awesome? It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's perfect. A direct flight without any delays, and you have a carry-on bag, not a checked bag, so you can easily get on and off the flight. That is the ideal scenario. One more thing I want to share with you before you go, and this is where you sit on the plane. So when you get on the plane, you're going to see an aisle, Don't let the spelling confuse you. The spelling and the pronunciation are very different. It's pronounced aisle, okay? Now, if you sit closest to the aisle, that is the aisle seat, Now, if you sit closest to the window, that's the window seat, Aisle seat, window seat. And if you're unlucky, you might be stuck in the dreaded middle seat. And I think it's pretty obvious where the middle seat is. It's between the aisle and the window. So what about you? Where's your favorite seat? Do you prefer the aisle seat or the window seat? As for me, I prefer the aisle seat because if I'm in a window, I feel a little claustrophobic, to be honest. I like the ability of the aisle seat to just get up if I need to without having to disturb anyone else. So I always request an aisle seat. So now you have lots and lots and lots of vocabulary that you need, airport vocabulary that will help you the next time you're traveling. So why don't you take some of your favorite new expressions, practice them, and put some example sentences in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe. And before you go, make sure you head on over to my website, JForrestEnglish.com, and download your free speaking guide. In this guide, I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. And until next time, happy studying!